A poorly planned seating chart can ruin your day. Let's get started. ClassSeat is a website tool that allows you to create seating charts easily, effectively, and with certain filters. You can do groups of 2, 3, 4, 5, or whole class settings, and you can make changes at any time. Let's get started. You would first create a new classroom and then just name your classroom. And I'm not going to create one, but you get the idea. I have created Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus, and you can import your students from Google Classroom. You have a Google Classroom where you have multiple classes sharing the same classroom. What I would recommend doing is importing those, deleting the ones from a certain class, and then importing it again and deleting the ones from the other class. Or you can type them in manually, so you have multiple options. Let's go ahead and go into Edit. This is where you would add students, or you can change names. I'm going to add Tom Smith. And I'm going to add one more. And you would just type it in is exactly as you would say it. Valerie Mans. And then add those two students. And these are alphabetized by last name. But when we see the seating charts, they will be by first name because most students are more comfortable going by their first names. And you can change names. So if you have a student that goes by a different name, but it was imported into Google Classroom as it is in your school management system, you could of course change their name. And then the skill level, you may want to rank your students by skill level, so then when you create groups, the highs would go with the lows and the mediums with the mediums. You don't have to do this, but this is just a nice option. And you can, of course, change this at any time. The IEP 504 seating, you can apply it to anyone, but if you have IEP students that need to be placed in certain spots, you can designate where you want them to be, and every time you do a seating chart, they will always be placed in that spot. And of course, you can change this at any time. And you may have a student that doesn't have an IEP or 504, but you know that you always want them placed in a certain spot. So that, again, you will not have to move them after the seating chart is created. And you can remove students at any time and, of course, add them. Let's go back to our dashboard. I'm now going to create filters. You can choose to create filters or not. I'm going to create filters. And you can look at previously saved partner groups and use those if you don't want to start from scratch. You have the option to have partners of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And you can use skill level partnering, and again that will group your highs with your lows, your mediums with your mediums. But again, that's not something that you have to do. I'm going to go ahead and click it. The required groups are certain students that you want to be placed together every single time. And of course you can make changes at any time. Let's say I want Ashley and Anna to be seated next to each other. And maybe I want Alexis and Ashton. But if you look at this list, the previous two that I added last time are no longer in the list. So as soon as you put them in a required group, they will not show up again. That keeps you from duplicating students. And of course you can enable this or not, and you can delete these at any time. Well, let's say you have students that you do not want to be seated together. And if you look, the students from the previous section now appear in this list. Let's say I do not want Alexis or Dennis to be put together. And of course I can create this at any time. So I've already designated that Alexis and Ashton are to be put together, but if I did groups of 3, this would prevent Dennis from ever being put with Alexis. I'm going to hit reshuffle, and now I have groups of 2, and I can go ahead and keep shuffling until I see something that I like. If it's groups that I like, I can save that and have that for later. This isn't their actual seating chart. This is just who is being grouped together. We need to click seating chart to see how this will look. And on the seating chart, I have a few options. I am going to enable to use partners, so that means that the groups I've created will apply. And the seat partners together, what that means is that when I create my seating chart, their desks will actually be together. If I unclick this or disable this, what will happen is I would create a whole class seating chart where the desks are not actually together, but these filters that I have designated will still apply. So I'm going to seat partners together, and I'm using groups of 2. And now I need to use a little bit of critical thinking, because each desk group that is paired together will count as 1 in my column. So I want to have 4 rows, but I only want 4 columns. That means that that is 8 students total. And again, you can always redo it if it's not what you were hoping for. And now I see that I have 4 columns and I have 4 rows. And the people that I have designated to sit in front are sitting where I have placed them. Valerie Barton is in front, and that was one of my students I designated with a 504. And of course, these names have been changed. And then Tanner Blakely, if I look here at the bottom, I see that he is one that I wanted in the back right, and he is in the back right. But this is the great part. I can swap and put students in different spots. So if I look at this, I'm like, hey, whoa, these 2 here should not be in this spot. I would like them on this side of the room. I just click the person I want to swap it with, and they are now placed in a different spot. So if you, again, look at it and you don't like it, you have options. Let's say I want to swap Betty. I want Betty in the back. If you wanted to change who they're partnered with, you would then need to go back to partners and make some changes and then create the seating chart again. So let's go back to partners, and let's say this time I want to do group sizes of 3. And I'm going to use skill level partnering. And this time I'm going to delete some of these. But now I'm doing groups of 3, so I'm going to pick an actual group that I want together. So I can choose 2 or 3 to designate who I want together. And then the restricted groups, I can use 2 or 3. Let's say I still do not want these 2 together. But I can create an entire group of 3 that I do not want together. And I can just keep going and going. And then I can click reshuffle, and I can look at these groups and just make sure I'm satisfied. Okay, I like this one. And then I'm going to create my seating chart. I am using my filters. And I am going to seat partners in groups. But I need to change my columns, because this time I have groups of 3. So I only want 3 rows. I'm going to create my seating chart. And now Remember, each group set of 3 counts as 1 unit. I can see that I have 4 columns and I have 3 rows. I can change these students. Let's say I want Valerie to go to the back. And if I'm not happy with any of these combinations, I would need to go back to partners. I can't swap in the individual group, but I can swap where they are seated. So let's say I want to swap this group and put these guys over here, and this allows you to make some changes. Let's do one more. This time I want to create a whole class seating chart. I still want to apply those filters. These students will be seated close to each other, but they are not having their desks right next to each other. So I'm going to disable this so that my partners again are seated close to each other, but their desks are not together. But I need to change the setting here. So this is a 1-to-1 unit. So in this case, in my class, I have 4 rows, and I'm going to do 8 columns, and I'm going to create my new seating chart. And I can see that Valerie, that I designated to sit in the front, in the beginning, she's still in the front, right where I want her. And I can look, Tanner is still placed in the back. And of course, I can change these at any time. And now the people that I have designated to sit close to each other are right next to each other, and the people that are designated to sit apart are sitting apart from each other. But of course, I can swap any of these and put them in a different spot. And then I can click View Full Screen and I can print that, or I can print the chart from here. Thank you for watching. Please email if you have any questions. I hope you like ClassSeat as much as I do.